Jordy Rothwell, incoming defender transfer, played down at Creighton. Like many of the players on tonight's show, has an Erin Chastain connection. You were, of course, balling out down in the Big East. Erin had to face off against you at least a few times in your era. Jordy, thanks so much for joining the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. It's nice to finally meet you.
Yeah, so you were a stalwart down there for Creighton. Played 60 games over 4 years, tons of minutes, innings eater down there on the back line. My sources down in Corn Country, as I mentioned during Megan's segment, tell me that you're good in the air. I think you're like 5'9", so you have good positional size. And I don't want to set the bar too high. Minnesota did have maybe the most absurd like defender grad transfer aerial threat situation of all time last fall. I don't think it's fair to be like, are you gonna have 6 header goals as a center back? But let's pretend that the Ciceronian crown is up for grabs. Just talk about your game. Is that the aerial threat part? Sure, but talk about your game if folks want to get hype about you playing in maroon and gold.
No, I like heading the ball. I love heading. I love getting the challenges. I love winning ball in the air. The ball shouldn't be in the air realistically that much, besides in the box up across. But in the women's game, especially, like the ball is pretty much bouncing around a lot. So yeah, if the ball's gonna be coming in the air, I'm gonna head it for sure. I think, and I've met Gabby, and she's a wonderful human being. But yeah, 6 goals in a season, she's she knows what she's doing. I think
I'm still not sure that Gabby's real. I'm still not sure that I didn't dream that sort of like D3 All-American comes in and starts in the Big Ten, is one of the best center backs in the conference, is just like, I still think it might actually be like a cartoon I dreamt up. But honestly, Jordy, you're coming in. I haven't, I've not seen a ton of your film. I've not watched a ton of your games, but I did go through on Y Scout. I mentioned with someone else too. You can go and look at like play types. And I actually started by looking at goals or whatever, but then I actually got down to business and watched your fouls and your contests. And you're super gritty, like you're defending strong. It seems like you really sort of use your frame well, like you're constantly running through players. There's actually a lot of fouls that were just not fouls, but a player fell down and so you got whistled. Like when I'm watching it, I'm like, that wasn't a foul, but someone did fall, so I guess they blow a whistle. But actually the biggest thing that stuck out to me was just how locked in you seem all the time. Like, I think what I couldn't get over is seeing what you were doing physically made me think about what you were doing mentally. Like, you were constantly adjusting position, staying in position, trying to be in front, like shoulder check, like quick shift, all those things. Talk about that mental side of having to be that like last line of defense before the keeper, because it seemed like that's a huge part of your game just based on what I was seeing.
Yeah, no, I would say freshman year it was a learning curve for sure. Coming into college for most anybody, I'm not gonna lie, I did give up a few PKs. I've learned a lot since then, just about awareness. And as a center back, I'd say I'm pretty conservative.
Right.
Here at Creighton, we focus a lot about like distribution, possession. So it's mostly for me, it's 1-2 touch.
Right.
Not very often will I play a long ball because there's a high potential that it's going to be ripped off. I do play out of the back, play 1-2 touch. So that is partially my game, is just trying to, and I'm very vocal and I like to command my back line and the center mids, and sometimes maybe a little too vocal, but I just like to know. Me talking keeps my brain going, and so if I'm telling people what to do or like making sure they see it, and it helps me to like be able to look around as well.
Well, you and Plashko can have shouting contests then. You both can be loud as hell back there. I didn't realize it because half the time I'm in the box and the windows like aren't open or whatever. And then the few games where I'm actually outside, I was like, good Lord. Because people talk about how Plashko is like really loud and she's screaming all the time. And but once you actually experience it, I'm like, Jesus Christ, she is barking out there. Which is sort of a keeper and a center back thing. So it's good. You both should. Well, in that long ball, I definitely saw a few clips of that. And I think what you described of like having to adjust as a center back, like as a freshman, is like so insane. Like it's so rare for players to be impact players as freshmen in any position, but to do that on the back line is just like bonkers town, like truly crazy. You come in with so much experience, like all having to go through all of that, and now you bring that with you as a veteran. What was it, about what was sort of the Gophers' way of talking to you about how you would fit in? Like, what was their conversation with you about sort of, wow, it'd be great for you to do X, we'd love for you to be able to do Y?
Yeah, I think mostly talking to Erin and the other coaches, Gabby was a wonderful addition to their back line. And obviously she's gone. So right now there's a hole like that they wanted
Right.
to fill. And putting somebody like E is a wonderful, great center back, and putting somebody
Yeah.
next to her that's a little like is more experienced, like three more like I think 2 years on her, but it's like
Yeah.
she's growing as a player, but then having somebody that isn't as new as well is like kind of balances out a little bit. And kind of talking to them, they're like, we would ideally like to hopefully move into playing more out of the back, more of like a possession style.
Yeah.
But obviously it depends on the pressure, depends on the game plan, everything like that.
Yeah.
So I think just from that aspect, just kind of looking to fill the position where Gabby was playing, and just trying to make a difference, but also be able to benefit the team and hopefully bring us to a Big Ten championship for sure. So.
I love it. I don't know the last time a player came on or even a coach and said like, yeah, we want to win a Big Ten championship and do it. I'm ready for all these statements. Like, I'm ready. Let's do it. Let's start like put it on the bulletin board. Let's get wild. I'm here. And I'm really curious for you, you go into the portal. I mentioned with Meg and all these other people I'm talking to today. I mean, you for sure were deluged with tons and tons of messages. Like, if you're a consistent starting center back who's played at the Big East level, like for a team like Creighton, like basically every team in the country can use a player like that. Like, even if you have two starting center backs, I'm sure there were teams that like literally have two starting center backs and still thought, holy shit, if we could have Jordy on the squad, like as an insurance policy, like every team in the country could use a player like you. So for you, what did you go into the portal thinking? Like, what was your mindset of sort of, here's what I want with my sort of final year?
So honestly, growing up, I always wanted, so I live 15 minutes away from UW-Madison.
Okay.
So kind of grew up going to those games all the time. And I was like, okay, I want to go Big Ten. I want to do this. When I was a freshman, there was a lot of development that needed to be had. And I chose Creighton just because
it was. You mean in your own game, you're saying?
Oh, yes. A lot. I mean, physical, mentally, yeah, everything. But I chose Creighton because Creighton's just the best. I don't regret my experience there at all, but here at all, I mean. But I looked at myself and I was like, you know what? You've been here for 4 years. You're not supposed to be like, without COVID, you wouldn't be here.
Right.
And for another year. And so I was kind of like, I was evaluating. I was like, you know what? Like, I thought long and hard about what I really wanted to do, and I, to be honest, like I was a little comfortable with where I was. Just kind of like, you've been there for a long time, like you've established yourself, and you kind of know what you're going to get besides like the team that you're playing. And so for me, I thought personally, like from a growth aspect, to going to play for Erin, and I saw her play at DePaul, or like saw her play against her team in DePaul, and I know her coaching philosophy. And so, yeah, I was talking to a few teams, and then I really like talked to Erin. I went on a visit to Minnesota, and I was like, you know what? I had a day, like I came home and my sister like saw me like really happy. She's like, you're going there. And I was like, well, like, I don't know yet, like I'm gonna sleep on it. But no, like I just really got good vibes from Minnesota and the program, and the girls are great. The coaches are wonderful. And they just, to me, like I'm something that they need. And for me, like I'm not going into a graduate program, so I could kind of choose, like selfishly, I could choose soccer. So yeah, obviously I'm going to take classes, and I mean, I'm focused on school, but it's like I could choose something to help me grow pretty much as a soccer player. And so I thought, why not?
Yeah.
Very happy with it. So.
That is a luxury to be able to say, like, and I think you're someone who I would hope you have pro ambitions. Like, I think that's what, I'm assuming you have pro ambitions of like, let's try something harder and see what we can do. And it's like the idea of especially a fall sport athlete and the way the calendar works, it's like if you're going to go in and you don't have to do a full year program, it also gives you the flexibility of like having the mindset from jump of, you know, I might not actually do a year with this program. I'm actually here for the fall because, you know, I want to either try to get drafted or try to go overseas or try to do whatever. And so it's also a little bit different of a choice, I have to imagine, when you sort of go in eyes wide open of,
Yeah.
hey, I'm committed and I want to be here and it's really cool, but it might actually be a 6-month thing, like not a, you know, 12 or 11-month thing.
Yeah.
And so it's to be sort of eyes wide open about it, I'm sure is helpful too, because then you just go in knowing what you need to do. It's like, I only have so long to like make an impact and do whatever. And you mentioned you had development left when you were young. There's a lot of development to do. I'm curious from your perspective, especially as a center back, the physical side, like the strength side, you know, was there a challenge of having to be like in a legit, you know, strength program, like trying to put on size, like all of that stuff of just like, how do I fill up my frame? How do I, you know, talk a little bit about that side of it, because I think people probably don't appreciate like the shock value that can come of having to be in a big time, like strength program for the first time.
It's interesting that you bring that up because so going into Creighton, during the season, we don't lift a lot. And I think I was pretty much the same frame freshman year as I am now. Probably I would say a bunch stronger, but I think the biggest thing for me was learning the college game is so different from high school, where it's like you get the ball, you don't have like 3 seconds on the ball. You have like 1 second. They're coming blazing at you. Like, I can't even. A few of the preseason games, I would just give the ball away, and it was just like, this is great. Like, this is insane. So there's a learning curve for sure. But once you get it, you understand it. It's fine. But as a center back, it's like you can't pass the ball away. It's like so that was the hardest part for me. And then like the spring following, just working on speed and strength, it only benefits you.
Right.
To me,
well, and like I said, from the clips I saw, you know, you have plenty of positional strength and all that stuff. I find there's certain players like this is so long ago now, but like Maddie Gaffney is a great example, who was an outside back in my early time covering the Gophers, and now she's actually an assistant coach at South Dakota. And she talked about going into college. She was 90 pounds, and she's like 5'5" or like 5'6". Like she's not super short, and she weighed literally 90 pounds. And so she was like really proud of gaining, I think 35 pounds, or like, you know, like, which is, if you start at 90, like being able to put on weight, like would be so hard. And so I just think of those stories about players who come in. And it's also funny because I think like my examples, I always compare, you know, like Ari Del Moral and Athena Kuhn have really similar frames, like for Gopher nerds, but like they don't play the same. Like you use the frame differently and all that stuff. So it's, I'll get out of my use of body frame rabbit hole that I somehow get into.
No worries.
And I'm curious too, you know, you had that Big East connection, you know, what you kind of probably had a general vibe, the way Erin was selling how the program would play in Minnesota, but what was the what about the Minnesota style of play stuck out to you in terms of, oh, this is what center backs do in their system. Oh, this is what the back line does. And I know you mentioned she sort of liked the idea of doing more distribution eventually and all that kind of stuff. Was that sort of the main selling point of, I think I'll be challenged and I want to be challenged?
Yeah, I think from that aspect, I haven't watched a lot of Minnesota play actually.
Yeah.
What really drew me, I watched one of the first halves of the Michigan State game, and it was they were neck and neck, and it was just like a battle. And then I went on my visit. I went to like the two practices, and it was just the amount of like grit and effort and intensity and fun that they were having. And especially like if they're gonna play a 4-back, that's new for me because we played a 3-5-2 at Creighton. It's just, to me, like the whole, and even like the Big Ten is a different a Power 5 conference is a different step
Yeah.
from maybe it's as good as Big East. Like, see, you can't compare. Sometimes
Right.
it's hard to compare each conference.
Yeah.
But it's just a different style of play. But from that aspect, it's like it'll be a new experience and a learning experience of like getting with a whole new group of girls for a season and like a new team, a new playing style, a new formation, conference, and in all of those ways you can grow and make yourself a better soccer player, or you have to,
Right.
you know.
Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, I'm definitely, that stuff is always really interesting to me too. The idea of like what matters to players, what matters to coaches. Like I just think the idea of especially folks like you who have done like the full 4 years and then you're doing the grad year of the idea of like testing yourself in a new conference is like that's just something I'm sure competitive players want. Like the idea of, well, I know what I can be in this, like can I do it in that? The idea of testing yourself. Last two things, Jordy, as I am probably the only person who reads the bio sections of college soccer teams' websites. So two facts that you have on there, and I also love what stuff college programs put on there or not, because they all do. So two things on there that I noticed: the career goal. You put exercise physician's assistant, and we just need to talk about that. I need to be your career coach right now. Like, we can't have the career goal being the assistant. Like, we need to clarify this. Are you talking about like that's the first job? We need to aim high, is what I'm saying. We need to go big. But were you trying to say that's what your like first job out of school would be, or is that like let's do that forever?
So mine is, so the idea would be like an exercise. It would be in, what am I even, I don't even say, physician's assistant in sports medicine. So from med school, so it's like I'm gonna go to 28 months. PA school is 28 months.
This is okay. See, now we're back in a space I'm used to, because I've been heartbroken by people leaving for PA school. April Bakken didn't play pro because she wanted to go to PA school. Meg Gray is like, she almost left the Gophers and didn't do her 5th year because of PA school. Like, I'm scared of PA school, Jordy. So I do know about PA school.
Yeah. So ideally, yeah, I would love to be an exercise physio in sports medicine.
Nice.
I've had a lot of stints of injuries and have interacted with a lot of medical professionals, and I thought, you know what, hey, like being a PA would be amazing. I don't want to go to med school. I don't want to go to that many years of school. So if I can be in the healthcare field and be able to help other athletes, and with the PA profession, there's just so many positives that come with it. So I'm really excited for that, but it's like, there's no rush for me to go to PA school. So
I love it. And the other one is New Girl was listed as your favorite show. I'm a big fan of New Girl. I think a lot of people your age, especially in the shutdown, like it's on Netflix, it gets binged. Like, I think New Girl had a giant renaissance and new audience, whatever. This is a really simple question. Like, who would you be on that show? Which of the core characters? What do you think?
It's so hard because Jess has grown on me over the years. Like, that's one of those shows that I've watched probably completely like 3 or 4 times, but then it's if I'm bored at night, or like I'm you know, like you're feeling down, you can New Girl. It makes you feel better. It goes back and forth because I love Nick a lot. I think he's hilarious. But Schmidt is like kind of like that type A kind of like, I don't know. I like both of those two. I would say I'm probably a mix of both of them.
You're a mix of Schmidt and Nick?
Yeah, I'm in the middle. I'm not super uptight like that, but I can still be laid back too.
Right. Yeah, you don't do like the day drinking level of a Nick.
No,
but you also aren't the militantly type A of a Schmidt. So yeah, I could That
and it could be more closer to Schmidt, but it is a little more like I could be laid back. I'm not in a rush where I'm going, you know, like I'm enjoying the ride kind of deal. And I feel like Nick kind of embraces that. So
what are some of these type A tendencies that we need to get out now so your teammates are aware of? What are some, like, do you have certain stuff you like, the locker room has to be a certain way or your pregame has to be a certain way? What's the stuff we need to like get out into the ether so it's not going to be a surprise come season time for these teammates?
No, it's not. I mean, it's not necessarily. I just like to have like the ball. I like to have everything ready. I like
Okay.
to before a game. I mean, everyone has their pregame rituals.
Yeah. What's yours? Walk us through the pregame ritual.
Well, pregame mostly for me would be me listen to music. You have your like playlist, and then my dad actually has been able to come to many of my games, and so that I do a handshake with him before every
Okay.
game. So then those are my two pretty main pregame rituals.
Okay.
And like type A, I hate being late. I just
Okay. Same.
and I just like to like when there's order, but not too much. So I'm
Okay.
not gonna be like, guys, you have to do this, do that. But I'm like, well, at the same time, if you're gonna show up late to practice and maybe not work very hard, we're gonna have some problems.
Okay. I can tell why you would vibe with Erin. I can tell some of the elements that would
Yeah,
overlap.
Erin's
What
cutthroat. She's
and what is your dad's name?
Mark.
So we're going to be on the lookout for Mark. I mentioned
Yes.
earlier in the show you were not here, and you wouldn't know this as only a new equal time adjacent person. We have started featuring the moms, which is the
Oh,
cat. Moms are easily our biggest supporters. They share our content. They are Patreon supporters. Players' moms, my mom, Erin's parents, everyone's moms. But I did get really funny pushbacks from Sophia Romine's dad. He gave me shit and he said, "What about the dads, dude? What about the dads?" And so now I will probably have to start featuring some dad content too,
yeah.
just so I don't get accused of hating fathers. And so
Mhm.
your pregame handshake will be one of the first things that the dads get featured on. So all the dads out there,
Okay.
you know I love you too. I don't just drink with you in the parking lot before games. I also will feature you on the channel. Don't worry. That's great. So Mark, you can look forward to that. We will get
Yeah.
you. You'll be the first dad we feature. I'm committing to that. That's on the record.
He'll talk your ear off. I don't know if you don't want
That's
to do
great.
that, but
Well, they all do. The dads all do. They all do for sure.
they're just so
Well,
passionate.
they are, and they really just want someone to listen to them. That's a
Yeah.
man thing. Men just want people to have to listen to them. Well, Jordy Rothwell coming in, stud center back coming in to try and uphold the aerial threat center back grad transfer throne that we have here up with the Gophers. Excited to see you this fall, Jordy. Thanks so much for joining us.